I look around like where the good times at. I just wanna bring the good times back. And if the good die young, why am I still alive? Maybe I deserve that fact. And the stars only shine when the dark comes. Got me thinking about where we're going from. Even me breathing, but we be the lost ones. Every generation that embrace it like a lost one. Here we go, here we go. In the tight spot, then you in the right spot. Man, that's what I got and I've been there. One shot like stop, so I don't know if a lot of homies ever here. And the game is yeah, took a roll of the dice. The ultimate price, do you stand up and fight? You throw in the towel, stay safe. I'm out, stand tall and prepare for the fight of your life.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Survivor Series. The Survivor Series is an original product of No More Heroin, 501c3, and this is an inspirational testimony series. It's always been about sharing a message of hope. You know, people that have overcome these seemingly insurmountable odds to have and live a life of purpose and destiny. You know, I've always said that our testimonies are the only real weapon we have in fighting the stigma of addiction. And I believe that more so now than ever before. We have an amazing guest tonight. I'm gonna bring on my co-host, Erin Quinlan.
Hello.
Hello, my dear. If you guys don't know who Erin is, I'm sure you do because she's my best friend and we cross promote each other. But check out her page, Erin Quinlan, Blessed in Recovery. She helps a lot of people, always posting inspirational content. She is the one that put me in touch with David to do this live, and I'm so glad I met this guy.
Really good human being. He's amazing. And I'm just incredibly blessed to do what I do. Can everybody hear me okay? I can't see the comments. I did bring my other phone out here, but it's not going to work out. So my headset's not working.
Okay, I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
What did you think of my promo video there?
That was great.
I want to give a shout out to A String of Hope, Ben Fisher. He put that together for me, and I would also like to thank Los and Scotty Prospect for letting me use their song. Los is the videographer for We Are Cloud Gang. Carlos Gaudier is a Veil Visuals. He's also a phenomenal rapper and writer, photographer. Him and Scotty together are a really powerful duet. But this song just really sums up what I'm trying to do with the Survivor Series, man. It's about, carrying a message. Being an example for somebody to follow, to give somebody hope in coming out of addiction or any life struggles. So I'm gonna bring on David Scheetz Jr. David, welcome.
There he is,
guys. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. Good. I want to thank you for jumping on here. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you and talk recovery with you and catch some of the backstory, who you are, where you came from, and I'm really looking forward to you sharing your testimony tonight. I've got some pictures I'm gonna throw up, but before I do that, I want to share the screen here real quick to let people know what environments you work in.
Yeah, in other words, to let people know how crazy he is.
Mm-hmm. Go.
8 weeks into the Opilio season.
Hang on, watch out. Super Moon Ice Storm! Yeah! super snow moon storm hit upon us.
After 72 hours of its fierce tides wreaking havoc, the supermoon finally reaches perigee, the closest point in orbit to Earth.
So crazy. The biggest it's been in 10 years. Huge moon.
The heightened gravitational pull fuels the storm below with warm southerly currents and super chilled air from the north.
Holy smokes!
With the supermoon freeze comes hypothermic winds, fear-eating ice flows, freezing fog and spray.
You know, we've had a sinking out here just recently, and probably the very conditions that we're experiencing right now.
All on a collision course with the fleet.
This big hell is hot. It's frozen. We're in it.
490 miles northwest of Dutch Harbor, on the Cornelia Marie.
Right now, the waves are pretty gnarly. Every once in a while, we'll get slapped in the face with a good one.
Okay, they got an idea on the environment that you work in, bro. That looks insane. So I would imagine that you guys work hard, you guys play just as hard, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the fishing lifestyle, and that's the lifestyle that I led for the majority of the career, leading up to actually earning a spot on the Summer Bay this last Opelio season. That was the first time in my career that I went through an entire season completely clean and sober. I was already 15 months into my recovery when I had that job offer, and I can tell you right now, man, there were days and moments out there during that season where looking back on it now, man, I don't know how I did it. I really don't. It was tough.
Yeah, I mean, what is a day like on a ship? I mean, is it go nonstop, pull, you know, short stuff, you know, just getting stuff ready? I mean, is it nonstop and plus the waves crashing over and you getting thrown around and stuff like that and the cages flying around the pods?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, coming from fishing over here in the Northeast for most of my career and transitioning over to the Bering Sea in Alaska, there is no type of comparison, man. The Bering Sea is a ruthless place. And yeah, a day on deck is basically anywhere between 40 to 50 plus hours long. Zero sleep. And you're hauling pot after pot after pot, and it's an extremely fast pace. And you know what I found for myself, the hardest thing the biggest challenge that I had doing it was that I had to really dig deep mentally. It was the lowest mental state that I had ever been in, both mentally and physically. I had to dig very, very deep to make it through those seasons.
Yes. You know, I can see where substance abuse would come into play there for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, it's very common in the fishing industry. And it's unfortunately it has continued to get worse. And again, that's the way I lived for many years. You know, I did more trips at sea dope sick than I did with drugs. You know, I always ran out of my heroin, and there were many trips when I would take my last shot right there at the dock and then get on the boat and go through withdrawals the entire trip, and it was just hell.
Yeah, some friends of mine were calling it sea tox, going out to sea to detox.
Yeah, CHAB. That's what that's known as. CHAB. It's brutal, man. I don't know for the life of me how I did it. I mean, I had friends who told me I was absolutely nuts. I know guys who refused to get on a boat if they did not have what they needed to get through a trip. And it just, for me, it became such a common thing that I guess I just got myself to the point where I could just push through it mentally.
Sure. You train yourself, on what to expect. I mean, before we jump into your testimony, I want to welcome all the viewers that are viewing on the No More Heroin page, all the viewers that are watching from David's page, David Scheetz Jr., Motivation in Progress, and those watching on Erin Quinlan, Blessed in Recovery. We're streaming to 3 different platforms right now, so I believe all of you guys are in here in the comments, but each page will have their own set of views and their own video. So I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the shares. I was to a point last week where I was going to just stop broadcasting, stop doing social media stuff. I didn't feel that I was helping anybody. I wasn't reaching anybody. Social media was oversaturated. I was just tired. I was working 2 jobs plus trying to do my social media stuff and do interviews, and it just got to a point where I didn't see any value in it anymore. And then Erin introduced me to you, and you lit a fire in me again, because you said that you used to watch our lives when you were in the throes of addiction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I did. That's a real thing. I first discovered Chicago Hope Dealers, and I was in contact with Jonathan, and I remember sitting in bed shooting up heroin and having my phone in the other hand and watching lives on Chicago Hope Dealers. I remember watching lives right here on No More Heroin, and other social media platforms as well. And that was a year before I even got clean and sober. And I kept holding on to hope, because I was seeing people doing exactly what I'm doing right now. And it really helped, man.
Thank you for giving me that confirmation that what we do is reaching people, helping people. We always say if we reach just one person. Well, you were that one person that lit a fire in me to start broadcasting again, and helping people get their stories out there, because there's so much healing that happens for the person that's giving the testimony and the people that are receiving that message. There's a lot of healing and closure that goes on, and I'm honored to be able to play a small role in anybody's story. It's an honor to be able to show up in my own story today. So I'm gonna throw up some pictures, and you can tell us where you were at this point in your life.
Oh, so this one right here was about this was about 5 years ago, I would say, maybe 6, and we were living homeless at the time. Me and my wife were living in a tent. It was wintertime back in Willimantic, Connecticut. Basically, that's our buddy there, Harley, and that was our everyday life, man. We would push the cart around all day. We were jumping into dumpsters, and we were collecting bottles and cans. And the thing is, the thing about this picture right here is that you see it and you see smiles on our faces, and you think we're goofing off. But the thing is that behind that picture is one of the lowest points in my addiction. Being homeless, living in a tent, strung out on crack and heroin, having to jump through dumpsters day in and day out, taking people to get out. It's a fun habit. And that's the truth about that photo.
The whole grind of it all, being an addict is tiring. tiring and never ending. We'll save that for later. You see this one here. What you got going on there?
So that's me and my brother. That was obviously we're carving pumpkins there. It was actually a big family thing. We had everybody in the garage, and if you look real closely, you'll see a cup there, and I guarantee you that that cup was full of vodka and pineapple juice, because that was my thing during that time, you know, and that was my gig, man. I always had a cup with me, and it never had juice in it. Well, that's a lie. It had juice in it, but it also had alcohol in it, period.
Mostly alcohol, right?
Mostly alcohol, yeah. I kind of like the 90-10 mix. 90% alcohol.
As any good alcoholic.
You know, I missed a lot of stuff. Was I frozen for a minute?
I don't think so. I think you, it kicked you off or something. I brought you back on.
No, I left to share it out because I just remembered that I could do that, but I would just look, you know, frozen. But I was going to say something. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm over here and I just thought of something when you said, you know, like about that picture and stuff. And I'm on the crisis intervention team here in my little town of Warren County, Tennessee. And I train deputies and correction officers and other mental health, you know, professionals and stuff, and law enforcement on addiction. And, you know, our thing is that addiction is not a moral failing. It is a brain disease. And, you know, one of the questions that came up in the Q&A part of my training that I did with like 40 deputies and like 10 COs was this lady said, so addicts aren't weak people, right? And I was like, no, addicts are they are the most determined, dedicated, strongest, empathetic, caring, kind, compassionate human beings on the face of this earth. Like, it made me think of that, so I had to share.
Yes, ma'am. That is so true. So true. So, David, I'm gonna let you get into your story. You know, give us the backstory. You know, how you grew up. You know, and how you found your path through addiction.
My daughter's on here. Just saying.
Hi.
Yeah, so basically, so my name is David. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And my story begins 700 miles away from where I live right now. I currently live in North Carolina. I'm from Groton, Connecticut, and I was born and raised into a construction family, and it was operated and owned. And, you know, growing up in my house, it was all about, you know, discipline and academics. I was taught from a young age how to put my boots on and go to work. And I grew up in a very, very strict household. I was taught how to work hard and get good grades. Right around being a young teenager, right around 12, 13 years old, the state had stepped in after getting multiple complaints about child abuse. The state of Connecticut took me away from my father because an investigation was launched after I was found in school with bruises all over me, and I was taken into state custody. And during that time, I was introduced to a woman who I never met before, who I would learn was my biological mother. And from the moment I was in her custody, I started to run the streets, and it wasn't long before I caught my first charges as a juvenile, and I wound up going to a juvenile detention center. When I was in that detention center, They had done a pre-sentence investigation. They had dug into my past, and a lot of things got brought to light. So the state wanted to help me, and so they put me into a residential facility. And during that time in the residential facility, I was actually coming up on my discharge. I was waiting for my mother to make a few appearances for counseling, and during that time, I was actually raped by an older man. And you know, at that point in my life, I was already angry, and I was already lost and confused. And after experiencing that incident where I was raped, it really the fuel was really added to the fire. And when I got out, I went full throttle into drinking and drugging. By 16 years old, I was basically running the street. I had already been back to juvenile again, and when I got out, I continued to run the streets. I was experimenting with crack, heroin. I was drinking a lot. There was even a time period when I was sleeping in an abandoned train shack underneath the Gold Star Bridge.
How old were you? I'm sorry. I'm really good at that. How old were you when you first used heroin?
So when I first started experimenting with heroin, I was 16 years old.
Oh.
I was 16 years old, and it was introduced to me by an older kid that I was hanging out with, and it was shortly after being introduced to crack. I was going to a particular school at the time, and we became really good friends. And of course, we were misfits. We were always getting in trouble. His mother was addicted to crack, and he hung out with her a lot. And he basically just called me over one day and was like, "Hey man, try this stuff." And I took my first hit of crack, and it was followed by heroin, and I fell right into it. But yeah, so that started. I know that I didn't use the heroin for long because I always had a hard time finding my vein, but the crack was a huge deal. The crack and the alcohol. I had eventually made my way into a school after meeting a girl through an IOP. She introduced me to her mom, and I was actually digging through a subway dumpster when her mom pulled up on me and pretty much told me, "Get in the car." And she brought me into her home, and she clothed me, and she sent me to a high school. It was East Lyme High School. And I started attending school there, and I did really good with sports, but I lived two separate lives. I really did. While I was in school, I was the athlete. I was always in the gym. But as soon as I stepped out of school, I was out getting high. I was out getting drunk. I was out racking up charges because by the time I was 18 years old, I'll never forget this. I was at varsity football practice. I'm in the gym lifting weights, and I go to sit up on the bench to put my weights down, and I hear David Scheetz, "Get up, we're under arrest." And I look up, and I got cops at every exit door, and I've got this detective standing in front of me, and they stood me up, they put me in handcuffs, and they walked me out into the school parking lot. There was a JV game going on. Everybody stopped, turned around, and looked at me. The front of the school was full of kids. They walked me out, and and I got charged, and I went before the judge with 11 charges and 6 felonies, ranging everywhere from arson to assault to criminal mischief. And the thing about it is that was my 3rd time being charged with arson.
How old were you?
The reason why I had a thing with fire. The reason why I had a thing with fire. No, that was the 3rd time. And so, you know, they did a pre-sentence investigation again, and they basically looked back on my upbringing and what had taken place since custody was handed over. And you know, my lawyer pretty much told me at the time I believe I was facing 27 years. And he basically said to me, he said, listen, he goes, if you're going to get out of this at all, you got to admit that you have a problem. You have to admit that, you know, you're sick. And so I pretty much went ahead and took responsibility for the 2 fires that I had set. I told them how I did it. And because I did do it. I mean, that's really what they wanted me for. Because like I said, it was my 3rd time being charged with it. So I went to prison for 26 months. I was sentenced to 26 months with 6 years suspended and 3 years of probation. And when I got out, I was 20 years old, and that's when everything really started to go downhill fast. There wasn't anything about prison that rehabilitated me. I got my GED while I was in there, but that's about it. The rest of it, I was angry, and I continued to get in trouble, and I continued to work my way to a complete lockdown situation. But when I came out at 20 years old, you know, I got right back into drinking, got right back into drugging, and I started commercial fishing. I found commercial fishing, and you know, I was told by a guy who today I call Dad. You know, he's seen me in the garage, that garage where that picture was taken. I was renting the 2nd floor apartment. You know, he come out one day and he looked at me and he goes, listen, he goes, if you don't want to spend the rest of your life in prison, you need to go fishing. Because he could see how bad a shape I was in. And he could see how screwed up I was.
Thank God, thank God for that man.
Yeah. Oh, yes. He's been there for me since day one. Since 2010, when I met him, his family became my family. I call him Dad. His kids are my brothers and sisters. His mother, I became very close with, my grandmama. She always believed in me. But so I started fishing, and 21 years old, I was just skating by on probation. You know, my PO pretty much knew about my drinking, but he kept trying to help me. And, you know, I came home from a trip that got cut short, and I was out of state. They allowed me to be out of state as long as I came back home, right when I got to the dock. I was handed a check, and instead of coming home, I went out drinking. Well, that night, my heart ended up stopping. And it stopped 3 times in the matter of just one night. Kingston Hospital, Rhode Island, worked all night to keep me alive. When I woke up the next morning, I remember the first thing I said to myself, first thing I said to the doctors when they walked in was, I need my AMA paperwork, because I knew I wasn't supposed to be in Kingston. And And I was trying to pretend like, you know, probation didn't know. But when I asked the doctor for my AMA paperwork, the doctor looked right at me and said, "Mr. Scheetz, your heart failed 3 times last night. We've worked all night to keep you alive. We really feel like you need to sit here while we run some more tests and give yourself some time to you know, recuperate." And I refused. I demanded my AMA paperwork, and I raced back to Connecticut. As soon as I was back in my hometown, I stopped at the liquor store and I started drinking again. My PO called me. He let me know that I had assaulted a state police officer. I busted his nose wide open, which I don't remember because I was blacked out. He told me that according to the police report, I was trying to run across Interstate 95, which is 4 lanes of traffic. I was trying to run across Interstate 95 at 3 o'clock in the morning, screaming, "I'm not going back to prison." And I assaulted a police officer. I busted his nose clean open.
Wow.
I don't know
alcohol?
Yeah, that was with just alcohol. That was just drinking. I don't know why that cop did not press charges, but the PO told me that he did not want to press charges. And my PO looked at me and he said, "Listen," he goes, "we got to get you help." Like, I'm telling you right now, looking back on it, I thank God for my PO, because he would literally fudge the paperwork. When he would do his report, he would fudge the paperwork to his supervisor because he was trying to hide it from his supervisor that I was so screwed up. And he kept trying to get me help. And he kept trying. He kept sending me to IOPs. He kept sending me to detox. And every time I got out, I ran right back to doing what I was doing. I eventually was able to make it through my probation. A lot of that was strictly because of fishing. Strictly because of fishing, because I was always gone. If it wasn't for fishing, I promise you, I would be dead. I would have died years ago, or I'd be doing life in prison. One or the other. Sure. I am sold on that. Mm-hmm. But you know, I got off of probation, and again, I mean, I don't have to sit here and go into details. We all know how it goes. But I was running really hard with the drugs, and I was continuing to go basement to basement, house to house. I could never hold a spot long for anywhere. Me and my wife had started dating back in 2012, which is when I got off probation. We started dating shortly before I got off, and we very quickly became running partners. And by the time I was 25 years old, we were living in a tent in Willimantic, and our daily life consisted of waking up, walking 7 miles to our hustle spot. We would stand there with a homeless hungry sign, and people would bring us food and money, and we would go right back to the dealer. I mean, we were shooting heroin, we were smoking crack. On days when that wouldn't work, you know, we spent hours, and I mean hours, digging through dumpsters. You know, digging. I can remember going on the college campus and seeing these kids come out of their dorms early on a Saturday morning and see us. Like, they're bringing their trash to the dumpster, and they see us in the dumpster tearing through bags. And, you know, we'd look at them and we would encourage them to drink more, because for us, it was funny. You know, we didn't. The thing is that I saw nothing wrong at that time with the way I was living, because in my eyes, I was free. I didn't have to answer to nobody. I didn't have to pay no rent. I was just getting by, living how I wanted to live. And
That's how drugs and alcohol twist our mind up. You know, we're unable to differentiate the true from the false, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, the crazy thing about it is that, you know, I had gotten to the point where I couldn't even get a job on a boat because captains knew about me and they didn't want me on their boat. You know, they knew that I was strung out and they knew that I was useless. And quite honestly, it was easier for me. It was easier for me to dig in dumpsters and eat out of dumpsters than it was to just go get a damn job. I mean, I've always been capable of getting a job. Holding one was the issue. But so around that time, we were just really bad in doing what we were doing. And, you know, my wife was the first one that developed an issue with her liver.
Let me interrupt you real quick. I want to give Corey Guess a shout out. He says, I'm proud of you, bro. I'm 9 months clean from meth. Been having problems with the boozing. Seems like ever since I laid the meth down, I picked up the bottle. A little over a week since I last drank. I'm really trying. Good job, bro. Keep stacking days.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, man. Day at a time, 1 hour, 1 minute.
Yep.
And that's very common. That's very common. You know, gosh, I've worked in treatment for a couple years now. And yeah, a lot of people end up going back out because, and I myself included, I don't know when it was, like 2000 something, I figured I never had a problem with alcohol because I didn't really like the way it made me feel. I was a bartender for 15 years. I would like have one drink after work. But like for me, you get, you know, you give me a 6-pack and you could bet your ass you're going to find me in the bathroom with an 8-ball.
That's right.
You know.
It always leads us back. You know, we'll switch one addiction for another or detox off of one thing with another substance. But it treats us the same up here, you know, just spins us and leaves us spiritually and mentally and physically broken. At the bottom of every beer is a crack stem and a syringe for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And me.
That's how it was for me too, man. But
Dave Wheeler,
yeah. What's up, Dave?
Dave?
I'm trying to freaking see the comments. That's what I'm doing over here, and it's not really working very well.
Well, back to what you were saying. You were talking about your wife, how she developed the problem first.
Yeah, so she was the first one that developed an issue. We noticed that she wasn't able to hold down any food. She wasn't able to hold down any liquids. And so we ended up taking her to the hospital. And basically, you know, she was at L&M Hospital in New London. And she wasn't there for long. The doctors rushed in and said that they needed to get her immediately to Yale New Haven Hospital because her liver was failing. And so she got put in the ambulance, and I remember following the ambulance to Yale New Haven doing about 90 on the highway. And she got admitted, and they got to work on her enzymes were so high. And you know, this is a classic example of, you know, insanity. You know, I knew she was in there having a really rough time, and instead of me realizing, you know, we learned that the heroin we were using was overloaded with a substance that was overloading our livers. And you know, here we are, you know, my wife's in the hospital and she's in really rough shape. And instead of me being right beside her, you know, there to support her, I was right back at home still getting high. You know, I didn't care. I had a death wish, man, and I didn't care about anybody. You know, I didn't even care enough to stop using so that I could be there with her while she was scared shitless over what was going on. You know, I left her in that hospital room, and you know, I'd show up every couple days or whatever, but I pretty much stayed, you know, ripping and running and doing my thing. So she got out. She ended up turning around and she got out, and then I started experiencing the same symptoms. I was already days in, but I didn't want to go to the hospital. I refused. The only thing is that as tiny as she is, man, when she gets mad, you know, she she gets mad. So she pretty much got me to go. And I remember I go to the hospital. They put me in CCU, and my enzymes are well over 3,000. And you know, the doctor comes in and he says to me, he goes, "Listen, I'm an ER doc from Baltimore." He goes, "I see people come in every day your age and a lot younger dying from heroin." He goes, "Right now you're faced with liver failure." He said to me, he goes, "If this is the way you really want to go, it's going to be a long, dragged out, miserable experience. And I'm going to be there with you every step of the way until you're dead." And I looked right back at that doctor with zero hesitation. And I said, "Well, I guess you and me are going to become really good friends."
Wow.
Because at that point in my life, I wanted to die. Yeah. I really did. I wanted to be dead. And I didn't care. I had zero care.
You were that numbed up and that hopeless.
Yeah, no, I was ready to die. Absolutely, I was ready to die. I did not care. If that's the way I was going to go out, then I'm going out. But you know, things did turn around. They were able to get my liver to make a turn for the better. But as soon as they took me out of CCU and they placed me on the recovery floor, my wife walks in. And I looked at my wife and I said, "Listen," I said, "you need to go see the dealer." And I remember the look on her face. You know, she was just in complete shock. Like, what are you talking about? And I pretty much told her, I said, "Listen," I said, "you got two options. You either walk out of this room right now and you never come back, or you walk out of this room and you come back with some dope." So, you know, she walks out, she comes back, and, you know, I'm laying there in a hospital bed and I have IVs hooked up to one arm. I just got out of CCU. I just barely missed liver failure. I got IVs in one arm, and I got her. I told her, I said, "Give me the dope," and I'm shooting up dope in the other arm.
Wow.
That's that obsession and compulsion.
Yep.
You know, I was so pissed and so determined to not be around, and that's just what I wanted. So, you know, eventually they stopped everybody from coming to see me. They detoxed me. I went through it, and when I hit the street, I continued on, man. I continued on. I got on a boat. I finally found a boat that could put up with me, and I basically started to I started taking my drugs out to sea with me. I started taking heroin, and the crazy part about it is that up until that point, I swore to myself that I would never get high at sea doing my job, because the job is dangerous enough as it is. You throw drugs into it and you're just asking to die or get seriously injured or kill somebody else.
Yes.
But I got on this boat and we were homeless. We were living in a van that we would park at the dock. I got her on the boat with me, and we basically we started shooting up dope. I remember being out in the North Atlantic in 25, 30-foot seas in the middle of winter. The deck is absolutely soaked and raging, and we're just going through it. And I'm in the bathroom trying to hit myself. I mean, I'm high as a kite. You know, I don't know how I ever made it back from those trips. I don't know how either of us did. But
How
the thing
common is that?
extremely common. So it's everywhere.
Ah,
That's normal.
I'm going to throw up this picture. I want you to describe this scene.
Whew, I was actually getting to that. I was actually getting to that. So you know, the next years were spent doing that, you know, getting high on the boat and everything, and it turned into not being able to keep up with the drug addiction. So I did a lot of trips, tilt sick, and that was miserable. And back in 2018, I had come home. I had finally got on a decent boat, and actually I got on a really good boat, a really good moneymaker, and I went out to sea and detox, and I was gone for about 3 weeks. And I came home. September 2nd. And when I walked in the door, I had needles and spoons all over the table. You know, she had still been doing her thing.
Good job.
And I had walked in the door, and I remember I looked at everything and I said, you know what? I'm not touching that. All I'm gonna do is drink, because I can do that. I can just drink. I'm not gonna mess with the heroin. I'm not gonna mess with the crack. I walked out of the room and I went to take a shower. By the time I walked back into the room, I looked at my wife and I said, call the dealer. So we made the call and we got what we got. And she had already overdosed the night prior. And she's overdosed 15 times throughout our relationship. Now, she had overdosed the night before, and I was about a half a gallon of Jack in. I decided that I wanted to then move on to the stem. So I got through that. And the last thing I remember is I looked at her and I said, hey, I want to get a couple bags together. And we fought about it, because everybody knows that when you know, alcohol and opiates is a deadly, 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 deadly mixture. And I was extremely drunk. I was already a half a gallon in. And so she had turned around. I asked her for 3, but she turned her back to me. And to this day, I thank God that it was 2 instead of 3, because that third one would have done me in. I would not be here if it was number 3. I'm barely here with 2. So I go ahead and get it, and the rest is what I was told. So I hit the floor on my back. My wife immediately got on the phone with 911. I started puking. My wife's on the phone with 911, talking to the dispatcher, giving me CPR, and she's using her mouth to suck the vomit out of my nose. She was trying to keep my airways clear the best that she could.
Oh, man.
They show up and get me, and they bring me to the hospital, and they put me into an induced coma, because I could not breathe on my own. So they put me in the coma, and that picture right there. So that picture right there that you're looking at, that was taken on day 6 of my coma. The doctors had walked in and basically told her that my body was showing no signs of improvement, and that she needed to think about pulling the plug. And then they walked out. And that picture right there was taken by my mother-in-law, and that is my wife. She came up and she grabbed my hand, and she's trying to talk to me in that picture. On the morning of day 8, I woke up.
Praise God.
Day 8.
On the morning of day 8, I woke up. She had 2 days to think about pulling the plug, but that's a God moment. She wasn't going to pull that plug.
No.
She wasn't going to do it. You know?
That's such a power. What happened after you woke up? What happened?
So this is example. This is another example of pure insanity and how much hate I had for myself. So I woke up out of that coma, and 2 days later, I got up and I grabbed my walker at 28 years old, and I used the walker to get out to the nurse's station, and I asked them for my AMA paperwork. And they were just looking at me like, you're out of your mind. You know, you just woke up from coma. You can't even walk. I had no color to me. I had lost a ton of weight. I'm on all kinds of medications. And, you know, they said to me, Mr. Scheetz, you need to go lay down. We're going to send a doctor and talk to you. So the doctor comes in and she looks at me and she goes, listen to me. She goes, you still have fluid in your lungs. She goes, you're hopped up on all these medications. You don't even have the strength to walk. She goes, what do you think you're going to do? I said, I'm going to go home. I'm good. So I fought and I argued and I got my AMA paperwork and I got wheeled out of the hospital. Within 15 minutes of me being out of that hospital, I had a fist of Jack in my hand.
Self-will.
Before I got to the house, half of it was gone. And within a few hours, I was shooting up the very same batch that put me in that coma. Because I was so pissed that I woke up. I was so pissed that I woke up. I couldn't even begin to understand why I woke up. And I wanted to die. I was so angry. And, you know, that continued for about 5 more days. And finally, you know, her parents on their last leg, because they had been doing everything in their power throughout the years to try and help us, to try and work with us. And as their last ditch effort, they said, okay, get in the camper. We're leaving. So they drove us down here to North Carolina and pretty much said to me, you have 1 month to find a job. If you can find a job, we will let you rebuild. So I got a job cutting trees, and I was drunk every single day with a chainsaw in my hand.
Wow.
Every single day. Before 7:30 in the morning, I was already 3 tall boys in. And I drank throughout the entire day cutting down trees. And basically, on the morning of October 20th, 2018, I woke up and I was done. I was done. The guilt that I had placed on my heart was so heavy. I was so disgusted. And I literally had nothing left to me. I mean, I had been in and out of detoxes, in and out of rehab, in and out of AA throughout all the years. And I always would leave because I wanted to do things my way. And it just got to the point where I couldn't do it no more. I didn't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. So on October 20th, I woke up and I pretty much said, you know, excuse me, but I woke up and said, fuck this. Mm-hmm. And I meant it. And I've been clean and sober ever since.
You're coming up on 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, only by the grace of God.
You did the first step totally, honestly, completely. You admitted your life was unmanageable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, the only difference between that moment and every moment before is that at that moment I meant it. I meant it. I had nothing left in me to fight. I had tried every single alternative. I tried drinking on the weekends. I tried only drinking beer. I tried being a social crack user. Who the hell?
Like a gentleman?
Yeah.
No.
Nope, that's not a thing.
No.
You know
I tried that too.
That's so not a thing. So not a thing.
I mean, I literally tried every single avenue to control my life and to control the direction and trajectory, and I failed every single time. And, you know, the first 6 months of my sobriety was really tough. I didn't have a lot of faith in myself because I never made it past 6 months sober to that point, and I didn't have a lot of confidence. But I can tell you something right now. The day that I got saved and I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I'm telling you right now, you want to talk about getting the Holy Spirit and your soul being lit up, buddy. I started to build a foundation with God that has completely grounded me in being able to do the next right thing, understanding that as long as I'm able to do the next right thing will happen. And I'm not saying that it's been an easy ride, because it's been extremely tough, but it has had its benefits by far. You know, I started out cutting trees down, making $11 an hour. I moved into working for a construction company, running heavy machinery, all the way up to getting a job offer to go to Alaska and do a job that I always wanted to do. That was something that I always wanted to try. And real quick, the thing about that is when I was 19 years old and I was in prison, I remember seeing Deadliest Catch on TV. And the first time I saw it, I looked at my cellie and I said, I'm going to go do that one day. And he said, no, you're not. You'll never make it out there. The very moment I started commercial fishing, I used to tell everybody, I'm going to Alaska. I'm going to make it out there.
Tell me I can't.
11 years later, not only did I make it to Alaska, but I wound up on the damn TV show. That was just a bonus.
Yeah.
God opened up a door for me. 15 months into my sobriety, God opened up a door for me because he knew that I was faithful. And he let me go do it. And it was the greatest experience I ever had thus far. The greatest experience. And it was a lot of fun.
This is a picture of you leading your crew in prayer on the summer bay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
You know, that was a really good time right there. God, I was tired. I don't know how I even stood up for that. Oh no, I was sitting down.
I know a lot of the guys on that boat. They're pretty awesome.
So that picture right there, the picture before this one, that picture right there, that was the last fishing trip I made before my coma. That trip I was detoxing.
Can't even imagine. I've detoxed in jail. I cannot imagine detoxing on a ship in the ocean.
Ship like that, no less.
No way, dude.
Miserable. It's so miserable.
If you can force yourself to work through those type of situations, there's nothing, absolutely nothing you can accomplish in a sober state of mind and body and spirit. Nothing. There's nothing you can accomplish.
Right. And I mean, you know, that's the thing, man. And God, I was tired in that picture. That picture right there was me just thinking to myself, what have I done? What have I done? What did I for? Yeah, I was toast.
I had asked you on our first conversations, do you regret getting facial tattoos?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, the thing is that my tattoos all tell a story, and I do not regret them. And even the 6s on my face, you know, I remember when I first debuted on Deadliest Catch, and a lot of the viewers were extremely upset with my tattoos, and one of them they were upset with was the 6s on my face. And you know, the thing is that Discovery turned around, and almost every time Discovery shows me, I'm praying. And what that did was it blew people's minds. It blows people's minds today when they see me and they see that particular tattoo, and they go, man, this guy's some crazy devil worshiper, whatever. And then I walk up to him, and then I walk up to him. Yeah, and then I walk up to him and I start talking about Jesus, and their jaw drops.
Yeah.
And, you know, I am a firm believer that Jesus will use my tattoos to reach people. He will use them in a positive way.
And to kill stigma.
And it kills stigma. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when people see me, I'm sure the first thought that comes to their mind was, that boy right there needs help. He ain't right in the head. And then, yeah, and I mean, I agree that I'm not all there in the head. I get that.
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it.
But you know, I am, you know, I stand strong on my faith, and I stand strong on the fact that God is the only reason why today I have a house for the first time in my life. I have cars. I have a bank account with money in it. I have anything that I need and that I want. And it's all, I have clean clothes. I have food in the fridge. Not right now, but usually I do. Usually I do. And you know, what's even better about it is that today I get to do something that I really enjoy, commercial fishing. I get to do it clean and sober.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's my message. That's something that I want to say real quick. For anybody who's watching this, especially my brothers that are in the commercial fishing industry, because I do get a lot of guys that reach out to me for help. Anybody who's watching this, that's doing that detoxing gig at sea, and that coming home and destroying yourself, I'm letting you know right now, you have no idea how beautiful it is to do your job clean and sober. It is the most incredible experience I have ever had. That season out there on the Bering Sea, as ruthless and as brutal and as tiring as it was, the fact that I could do it clean and sober and feel God's presence and enjoy the beauty of it and the passion of it, man, that's priceless.
Yeah.
That's priceless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Priceless, man.
You were saved by grace through faith. I love that saying.
Absolutely.
Saved by grace.
Bro, you were delivered. You were straight delivered. Yeah. Delivered out of the pit of hell. You had 1.5 feet in the grave. In the grave. Yeah. You were hell bent to die, and God had other plans for you. And look at you now. Look at you now. You were just ready to throw it all away. I'll never amount to anything. I'll never get it right. I'll never get clean and sober. And you started working a program, and the program, I would assume, helped you connect with people, to connect you to your faith, to connect you to God. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, God lined people up. He lined the right people up for me, and I did not deny that. I accepted it. And my program of recovery today has a lot to do with my relationship with God. And it's a growing phase. It really is forever growing. Um, there was more. Everything that's happened up to this point has happened for a reason. The the path that I'm on right now is getting ready to take a huge shift, and I can feel that. I have a huge passion for I have a huge passion for other people's recovery, and that's why I do what I do today, to try and help people.
You guys want to tackle Erin's question here? My sister just relapsed. Can you give me any suggestions on how to handle this? Go.
Well, you know, it varies. Does she know, like, whether or not she knows that that has a lot to do with it. But
I think
you can message me, or you can call me, or message my page. I'll give you I'll put my cell number in the comments, and you can call me and we'll talk about it.
I think, for me, it depends on the amount of willingness. She's willing to be honest about it, whether she's willing to accept help, or whether she thinks she's got this. Does she want help? Does she not want help? Is she, willing to be honest, really? Because
I do interventions as well. But I mean, for me, when I know a friend of mine has relapsed, or a loved one,
she's talking about me.
you just might be one of them. I just continuously reach out to that person. We're always telling people to reach out for help, reach out for help. We need to be reaching in. We need to be reaching in to them, because that phone weighs about 1,000 pounds, and, there's so much guilt and shame that comes along with addiction in itself, much less a relapse, someone who has been clean and sober and went back. Now, I do, I'm big on guilt and shame, because guilt and shame almost killed me. But there is healthy guilt, which David shared some healthy guilt in there somewhere. I was going to say something, and I figured I wouldn't interrupt again, but I should have. But no, there's healthy guilt, there's unhealthy guilt, and there's shame. And only one of those is conducive to recovery. So give me a call, message my page, whatever. We'll, talk in depth about it. And
between the three of us, we have a phenomenal amount of resources, and experience. We're willing to help anybody, if you're willing to help yourself. Anybody.
And we have resources for everyone. You don't have to have insurance. You don't have to have money. There are places. Help is available. It's there in every state. I've got a list for every state in the country, and a couple in the UK. I'm still working on that,
and No More Heroin works with Erin. I mean, we all work together. We know a lot of people between us. So, David, where do you see yourself, going from here? What is in the cards for David Scheetz?
Well, since I got back from Alaska, I have had the ability to travel in my state and share my testimony. I have had the ability to make contact with a lot of recovery organizations, both sober houses, rehabs, detoxes, and I've also been able to build a really big network, and it's taking off now more than ever. My network reaching across the nation. I get a fair amount of people every week who reach out to me for help and support, who I stay in contact with. I help them find resources. I know that I work with Erin. I've been working with Erin for the past couple of weeks, just kind of keeping her keeping her updated on bringing people to her so that she can get them the right treatment. And like I said earlier, I feel like there is a huge shift coming up in my life. I do enjoy commercial fishing. I do have the option to go anywhere in this country and continue doing what I love to do.
You're a free man, bro. You're a free man.
You have purpose.
The word.
Purpose. You have purpose here, obviously. And I tell that to anybody who contacts me and says that they're using basically anything these days, because fentanyl is in everything. It's not just, you know, like everybody just thinks fentanyl is a heroin thing, and that's not the case. Fentanyl is literally in everything. It's in meth. It's in all the pills on the street. They're not coming from pharmacies. They're being made with pill presses. And there's fentanyl, and there's carfentanil, and there's a bunch of Chinese research chemicals in it. So, I mean, if you are still breathing and you are using, you have purpose here. Plain and simple. Like, you know, I should be dead as well. And I'm living in my purpose today with almost 5.5 years clean and sober. So,
you know, one thing I would like to say is if you're out there and you're in a relapse and you're ashamed to tell somebody, I get it. And I know with the overwhelming feeling of guilt, shame, remorse, self-disgust, self-loathing, and just no hope whatsoever. You know, if you could find one person to confide in, to tell on yourself, tell on your disease, and get it out of you. If you feel that you don't have a purpose anymore and that life is not worth living, there's three of us right here that will tell you different, that we felt the same way.
And a whole bunch in the comments.
Mm-hmm. And a whole bunch in the comments as well.
You are not alone, ever.
You are worthy of love, to give it, feel it, and receive it.
Yeah.
You have value, you have worth.
And respect.
Mm-hmm. And you're
worthy of it.
You deserve to have dignity and self-respect, and you can have it all back if you're willing to reach out and tell somebody where you are, what you're going through. The three of us here, you can reach out to any of us, confide in us. Everything will be handled confidentially. No gossiping, nothing. If you're out there, please, you do not have to stay stuck in a relapse anymore.
Addiction thrives in isolation, and connection is the opposite of addiction. So talk to somebody that gets it. For me, I couldn't talk to people who didn't understand. Like I've been through therapists, so many. I just recently got into therapy a little over 5 years into my recovery, actually. But like, you know, I had been in therapy my whole life, but I couldn't click with somebody. I couldn't click with anybody who didn't understand, who hadn't been there themselves. So, you know, you're not alone. That's like, you know, the whole Me Too thing is like the connection between one addict helping another is without parallel, is what they say, right? And that's like one of the best cliches that exist.
And it doesn't matter how many times you've had to pick yourself up, if you have the strength to do it one more time. That could be the very last time you ever have to feel like that again. And
all 7 times in the week.
Start stringing some days together. Start stacking days. Get further away from your last use. The world starts opening up. Your mind starts opening up. You start healing up there. You'll be able to work through all that garbage, the lies that your mind is telling you. You can do this. You really can. And you're worth that one more shot. Just try one more time, please.
For me, the first 2 years of my recovery was the hardest, because, you know, it's not just the addict that's in recovery, it's the family as well. And if the family and the loved ones are not doing the work, you know, the addict needs to do the work, plain and simple. But if the family is not doing the work and they are in recovery, they're staying stagnant. And, you know, we do a lot of really fucked up shit in our addiction. We just do. We hurt the people closest to us. And, you know, I'm just going to say it because it is what it is. And it happened for a reason. My past was thrown to my face every single day for the first 2 years of my recovery, for the every single day. If it wasn't something I did, you know, that was painful, it was an accusation. But the one thing that made the difference for me was that I did this for me. I did this for myself this time. And that saved my life, because I would have been back out long ago and most likely dead. So,
well, we're well over an hour. David, yeah. Give us a hope shot on the way out.
I hate it when he does that.
A hope shot?
Yeah. A hope shot, bro.
What? I don't even know what is that.
You just did
terminology.
Say something real profound. It's going to give somebody some hope. It's going to make them dig deep inside to just pick themselves up, or at least want to give this life one more shot.
Well, you know, the bottom.
No pressure, bro. No pressure.
I hate it when people do this stuff.
Well,
Jonathan does it too.
Well, you're next, bro.
I used to feel the same way when people would put me on the spot. When people would put me on the spot for prayer.
No pressure.
But, you know, the bottom line is this: for anybody that's watching this video, I know you've been going through it, and I know it's been miserable. I understand each and every single feeling that you're feeling right now, and all I can tell you is that you have no idea right now, because I know it's hard to see and I know it's hard to understand. You have absolutely no idea how precious you are, how much worth you have, how strong you are. You have no idea how many lives that you can impact. But as soon as you gather the strength to get up and face the adversity and the challenges, and you start moving through, it will not take long for you to realize that you are worth every single minute that you go without a drink or a drug.
Woo! Talk about God a little bit.
Yeah.
Say again?
Talk about God a little bit.
Talk about God? Oh, boy.
David can close with a prayer. I think that would be perfect.
Okay. Oh, you're trying to get out of having to give your hope shot.
All right. So listen, I thought about it and then I lost it. You know me, the squirrel. All right. So what was I going to say? Just hold on. I don't know. Listen, if you're still breathing, you have purpose here. Like I said already. And I know there's somebody watching this. Don't you laugh at me or cover your face or whatever you're doing.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I wasn't done. Fucker.
Sorry.
I never knew this is all right. What I'm supposed. This is it. I never knew what self-love was. Everybody used to say, like, you got to learn to love yourself. You got to learn to love yourself. And I'm like, I can't fucking stand myself. Like, what do you mean? Love myself. And once I established my relationship with God, I finally learned how to love myself. You know, I've got respect today for myself that I never had before. I mean, just in the last year alone, I have grown substantially. And, you know, getting therapy is not a weakness. I recommend that every single human being, whether you're an addict or not, I recommend therapy for everybody. And if one therapist sucks, get a different one, you know? I never would have imagined the love that I have for myself and the respect being a thing. And I love so many people today. And it's so weird because I used to think that, like, in order to tell somebody that you love them, you had to go through like a whole bunch of shit with them. And, you know, you had to eventually like basically hate them in order to love them, which was some weird dysfunctional something or another. But I see myself in every single addict, and I love them genuinely. So, you know, that's all I got. Whatever. My cell phone number's in the comments. And
I just want to share something in closing real quick before I'm gonna let Dave pray us out. I was always the type of person that said, well, if I could get this job, I'm gonna be good. If I could get this money, I'm gonna be good. You know, if my son would just love me, I'll be good. You know, and that's not the case. You know, all the people in the world can love me. If I don't love me, none of that stuff matters. Nothing will ever matter, because I'll always be striving for that other thing still, to make me feel good about myself, to find validation in myself. You know, once I figured out that I'm worthy of love, that I'm worthy of self-respect, I'm worthy of having dignity and honor, I'm okay with less money, a less paying job, less people in my life, because it's quality over quantity all the time.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So once I stopped looking for those outside shiny things to complete me, instead of using God's love and his connection to you, I'm okay with me, you know? So,
and that's true love right there.
Yeah.
When you can really love yourself.
Nobody else will love you if you don't love yourself first, and that's so true.
Yeah.
You never know how to love somebody else if you don't love yourself, you know?
Yeah, I got one more thing to say. I'm just gonna cut you off. I got one more thing. That's it. I want to rewind a little bit to the guilt and the shame thing. When I went back to detox after being kicked out, and I'll share my story again on here sometime. This couple came in, and I don't preach, you know, I don't shove my beliefs down anybody's throats. I've got friends who are total atheists. I've experienced anger with God and disbelief in the whole 9 yards. But when I went back into that detox, I knew I was going to die if I didn't do something drastically different. And this older couple came in to, you know, do like a ministry type service, Bible study thing. And the shame and the guilt, it was always what brought me back. And it was always what dug my hole even deeper. So I learned something in that Bible study. And that was that if I could be forgiven, like all I had to do was ask for forgiveness, accept Jesus in my heart, and ask him for forgiveness. And if the creator of everything can forgive me, then who am I not to forgive myself? And if I can't forgive myself, then if I can forgive myself for everything I put myself through, because the addict does go through quite a bit. The family and the loved ones go through absolute hell. Yes. But the addict themselves, they go through it, man. And if I could forgive myself for the things and the situations I put myself in, there was nothing that anybody could ever throw at me from my past that would affect me. Period. You know, find something on me today and then we'll talk, you know. So that's it. That's all I got.
That's good stuff.
With that, I pass.
Great show, guys. Great show.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Erin.
And just one more thing. Again, for anybody that wants to reach out to me, you can find my personal page. You are more than welcome to join the Motivation in Progress, the private group that I have started. that is not only for recovery, addiction, it is also for motivation across the board. That page I set up to help inspire others to change their lives in all aspects, whether you want to lose weight and get healthy, whether you want to go back to school and get a degree, whether you're flipping burgers at McDonald's and you want to own McDonald's, whatever your life goals are, whatever your passions are, you are more than welcome to join the group and share that, where you can get the uplifting inspiration from others. It's been a really good thing since I started it. The members have come right in and jumped right into getting involved. There's a lot of really good fellowship in there that has taken off. And then also I have a David Scheetz Jr. Motivation and Progress page where you can, again, message me at any time. My numbers are up there. Reach out for help. We're here for you.
I put that's linked to David's page is on the screen right there. David Scheetz Motivation in Progress. Please invite people to like the page. Let's help him grow his page.
Yes.
Support him and participate. The Motivation and Progress group is a really good group. There's a lot of people in there already posting some really cool content.
And the group has a period at the end of it, just for anybody who's like, OCD-ish, a little bit of a, that's a good way to decipher the group from the page is what I was trying to say.
Housing. I love Mike Kersey.
I love Mike Kersey more.
And Kelly.
And Kelly.
Brittany, I see Brittany. Thank you.
Hey, Brittany. There's a lot of awesome people on here tonight.
Yeah. David, close us out, brother.
Yes, sir. And I'm just going to say for the record that I get super nervous when people ask me to do this. So bear with me still to this day. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this night. I want to thank you for bringing us together. I want to thank you for Higgy. I want to thank you for Erin. And I want to thank you for each and every single person that has come on here. Father, we ask that you please send out your angels to grab those who have been running for so long in the wrong direction. Because, God, we know that you are a loving God. We know that you are a forgiving God. We know that you are a faithful God. And we know that it is through turning around from the direction that we have been running in. We know that it is turning around to grab out and reach for your hand where true salvation begins. I just ask, God, that you put it on every person's heart who has watched this video tonight that is going through a hard time. God, I ask that you please reach out and put it on their heart to get help, and that you help them understand that they are worthy and that they are able to live a life beyond their wildest dreams if all they have to do is reach out their hands and grab yours. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for everything that you have done for all of us. Continue to guide us for what we're doing for recovery. Continue to give us strength to fight this war on addiction. And continue, God, to show your love and to continue to prove your miracles are real. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. That is a gift. Shut the door, you're letting bugs in. And if you were, I hope you were praying since you were standing there. Okay, shut the door. That's a gift. I wish I could play like that.
It's always good as kids, man.
I can't do it.
You guys did a phenomenal job. David, you killed it.
Are we live? Still, yeah.
We're still live.
We're still live.
I'm closing it out, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you.
I'm blind.
Thank you for tuning in. Please follow Erin Quinlan, Blessed in Recovery, David Scheetz Jr., Motivation in Progress, and No More Heroin, and your boy Higgy. We love you guys. Peace out, y'all.
God bless.